Okay, cool.
Hey everyone, and thank you, Amy, for joining me tonight. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Now, for everyone who doesn't know, this is Amy Inns. She is, I guess, would you call yourself the founder of Healthy Belly, Happy Mind? Is
Yeah,
it?
it has. Yeah,
Yeah. So tell
yeah.
me a little bit about yourself. Like, obviously, doTERRA, how long have you been with it, and where have you come from? Because I know you had a little bit going on before you kind of found doTERRA.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I've been with doTERRA for about 2 years now, just about 2.5 actually, coming up to 2.5. How did I get involved with doTERRA? I when I Is it really interesting? I actually just finished my health coaching certificate. Everything sort of happened around the same time. So I just finished my health coaching certificate. Chris and I were pretty newly married, and we were trying for a baby, and all these things were popping up. The course that I just did was really focused heavily on food and nutrition, and also exercise and that sort of thing, and reducing toxins around the home. And so it was starting to come into my mind, but it was so alien to me prior to doing my health coaching certificate. I'd always been really passionate about the health and wellness world, but I just hadn't quite stepped into it yet.
Mm.
And cleaning products was something that we were using. I was using bleach for the shower and things like that. And so when we were trying for our baby, it just hit me, and I thought, what am I doing here? And at the time, I'd been following Jessie for quite a long time, and we'd known each other through another organisation we both worked for, and it was just it's sort of everything sort of slotted into place. Unfortunately, that pregnancy didn't work out, my first pregnancy, and so I then became even more conscious about reducing toxins and this and that. Thankfully, we fell pregnant with Asha probably about 5 months after that. But it was a really big change of life for me. I changed a lot of things, and I started Healthy Belly Happy Mind that same year, and I was really passionate about helping women to use simple steps to health. One of the biggest things I found when I started on my own personal journey was everything was so overwhelming, and it was just really intense. And I remember even thinking, I thought I ate really well, but then, organic vegetables, if your veggies weren't organic, they were covered in pesticides and all these things.
Yeah.
I just felt this incredible overwhelm. And so Healthy Belly Happy Mind was founded because I had been looking into gut health, and I'd suffered terribly with anxiety and depression growing up. So through cleaning up my gut and through the course and things, just everything sort of happened around the same time. And then Healthy Belly Happy Mind was born, and from there it's grown into what it is today. And the philosophy behind that is I really am passionate about teaching people simple steps to health. So I always say to everyone in my classes, you don't need to change everything at once. It's really overwhelming if you try to do that. And most often, if you do that, it gets thrown out the window. So I say, even if you change one thing a week for a year, you've changed 52 things at the end of that year. And that's massive change. And so I guess that's the basis of where it comes from. And I guess I was, as you know, like we're really fortunate to be in an amazing supporting team and have an amazing leader like Jessie to take us through that. And I think the reason why I caught on with the business side, it took me a long time to dive into the business. Actually, when I was pregnant, I hardly touched it. I was really, really crook. And it just, was loving the oils for personal use, but hadn't quite delved into the business. And what really caught my eye was how passionate Jessie was. And I think at the time she was doing the Heart Foundation petition, and there was all these things that were sort of kept popping up. And when the universe wants you to go down a certain path, you can't stop. It's right there. And so then after Asha was born, I just decided that it was a match made in heaven and dived right in, and have never looked back, and absolutely love it. And it's created a freedom that I could have, obviously it's hard work, but the future that's created for us is incredible. When I was 38 weeks pregnant, we were panicking. My husband had just started his business, and I was in a role where I was an account manager. I looked after most of New South Wales. So every 2 weeks I'd have to pack up the car and leave. And it was, 9 hours with some trips and different things. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to take a baby along with me. So that job was coming to an end. They weren't very supportive of families in that role. So
Yeah.
we were pretty scared at the time. Chris had just started his business. I had sort of had Healthy Belly running, as a hobby in the background, but and I'd also started my naturopathy degree by this point as well. So I was juggling I was juggling a few balls, but and then it just has evolved into this absolutely amazing thing. I literally blows my mind to think what has changed in our lives, and
totally.
And the fact that I haven't had to put Asher in care, or we've worked around that. I mean, obviously there's challenges with that, but we've really made it work, and so we can have family time and doTERRA as well.
Yeah, and isn't that what we all want, I guess, as mum?
Yeah, for sure.
I guess the first time I kind of saw you were doing a few DIY videos. This is before we'd even met. I think you just started sharing. I was like, not spying on you, but like, who is that?
Were you stalking me, Hayley?
Yeah, like you've done some really good DIY videos on using some oils during your labor, and also like DIY things. I just saw this. What I saw in you was this really vibrant, happy person. I mean, obviously, we'll have our busy, hectic lives, but you just exuded passion for a healthy lifestyle and caring for your baby with these beautiful natural products. And you'd always wear Asher in the wrap, kind of, he'd just be sleeping or feeding or whatever. And like, he's just attached to me 24/7.
That was literally what it was. He lived in that wrap until he was about 10 months old, and he's never been able to sleep in a cot. It literally was, he would only sleep if he was on me. So I just had to kind of make that work with the business, and and I guess because I was so passionate about helping other families to learn what I had learned, it made it all possible. I think if you don't have a passion behind something, it's never going to work. And definitely Asher was always on me, and it was great. I mean, when he started walking, classes got a little bit more complicated, but but we work around it. And lucky I've got that my husband is a huge support, so it's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one thing I'd love to highlight for people watching this is, I guess, the fact that different people grow our businesses differently. Yeah, and we're both diamond, right? And so we've obviously got to the point where we've been able to juggle children and business together really successfully. And I'm like you, like I haven't had family around to just jump in and babysit for classes and things. So you have to either take them with you or work around them, or have your partner there for support and to help out where they can. And especially with you and Asher being such a young age, much younger than mine were at the time, with breastfeeding all the time, and then Diamond Club.
Yeah.
Like I completely take my hat off. But what I loved when you presented at Leadership is your approach to the Empower Kit, which sounds really funny, but the Empower Kit, I guess we're given like documents, you know what I mean, that people can take black and white, or they can get creative and go, what is the story here? And I loved your approach to using the Empower Kit and taking people on a journey with that. How did you come about that way of, like, I never even thought about that pyramid like you do it. Like, it makes complete sense though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just with my background and what I was really passionate about, I really was conscious, especially for me when I first smelt the oils, I literally thought they were hippie smelly things, and that was it. I had no idea until I was sort of following Jessie for a while and seeing her talking about the non-toxic stuff. But I still, the emotional side of things and the physical benefits that you get from oils was just so alien to me. And it sounds pretty crazy because I'd started studying as a naturopath. You'd think I would have known a little bit more, but for me, it was just a completely new realm. And how that sort of came about was really putting myself in the place of the people that I'm talking to, and really holding that space for them, and realizing that they probably think it's just a hippie smelly thing too. And I saw it as my job to guide them and take them on a journey through doing that. And as I always teach my team, the best way to do that is by taking them through a class, by having that one-on-one, really taking them through each step so they can see, why is an oil different if you buy it from the chemist or from doTERRA? Because most people would just think they're the same. why do you have to use the oils in different ways? You know, what are the benefits? And so I love, I've got I started with my Empower kit. And what I always say to people is, don't feel like you need to know it off by heart. When I started, I mean, this is my little class copy, and it's laminated. And I've made little notes on things just to prompt me, especially if, Asher woke every single hour until he was 11 months old. So I needed a prompt there if my brain just disappeared for the day, And, I really loved that I can't fault the Empower kit, actually. And the thing that really helped me decipher that, I guess, if that's the right word, but was the Being the Starfish book, and reading that, it really helped me to get in the right headspace with the Empower kit. And obviously we all, you'll read different things and people will pull things out that are suitable for them. But for me, I really saw that it was an opportunity to give people an education around the oils and to really guide them through, what's important, and how these oils can help them. Because what I always say is, people hate to be sold to, but they love to buy.
Yeah.
And if you can be the person that supports their needs and supports their, whatever's going on for them, if you can give them something that will work, you don't need to sell it. You just ask the right questions so that they get thinking about what's going on for them, and you can say, well, look, these are some things that you can try, and along through the class process, they end up answering their own questions. I've never had to do that pushy sell, and I think that's what I love about this so much. Is not this icky. You're literally just helping people and listening to people, and I love it, absolutely love it. But the Empower kit, I cannot fault it. You're talking about the pyramid, so with the pyramid down the bottom here, I was saying in my speech that most people miss that section completely. But I actually think it's one of the most.
No idea what to do with it.
Yeah, and I was the same. It was actually through reading that book that I really realised that there was some really key things. And I find that when I do this in my classes, it's the point of the class where people start talking and sharing, and they really are engaged. And I just love that. And you see the room come alive because people's like, oh yeah, I struggle with that. Oh, and they'll have a bit of a giggle if they know they clean with every single toxic chemical. But they all kind of cheer each other on, and it's just a nice part of the class. And I think it really leads into, them actually trying the oils, and it gets them thinking, do they use toxic chemicals? Do they, are they using lots of medical, lots of Panadol and things like that? Are they using that sort of stuff? And so what I always do with that section is, for each of those color blocks, I ask a question. So for example, with proactive medical care, I say to them, okay, so what I want you to do is I want everyone to rate between 1 and 10, with 10 being optimal health and 1 being not so great. And with proactive medical care, I want you to think about what you have around the home that's natural that you can reach for. If someone's got a tummy ache, if they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or stressed, to can't sleep, do you have natural things that you can reach for? And I get them to rate that between 1 and 10. I then move into informed self-care. So I get them thinking about what their self-care processes around the home. And I often say, as women, we tend to, if there's only women in the class, if there's men there, then I'll switch it around a little bit. But, with the women, I say, often we are always the ones that put ourselves last because we're worried about everyone else. So, and I say, most people know what to do, but some people don't. And even if you know what to do, it might be something that you need a little bit of support to implement. And so I get them to rate that. Then I go through reducing the toxic load, and I'll pick out a few examples, whether it be, what do you clean your floor with? What do you clean your windows? I'll go through a few different options, what they use on their skin, stuff like that. And just getting really thinking, putting themselves in that place, because I think when people put themselves in a place where they're imagining what it's like in their own homes, it really helps them to think, oh, actually, maybe these oils aren't just, hippie smelling things. Maybe there's something deeper to them. And I just go through each of those with the rest and managing stress. So do they have things to support that? Exercise, I tend to break into 2. So I always admit that I'm a terrible exerciser, because obviously I don't want anyone to think that I'm sitting up there, the perfect person that does everything right. And so I do say I'm a terrible exerciser, and I say there's absolutely no guilt in this section, because I think it's really important to be the light for people, but not to be the person that's, telling them they're doing everything wrong, because I believe that, everyone is in a process of that journey. And I think that in these classes, even if they come and they're not interested in buying at that point, you could be planting a seed for them for a massive change in their lives. So, so I think it's really important with that section to just come at it with a really open mind, and if someone says something and you think, oh gosh, just let that slide, just move on to the next part, because you don't want to ever make anyone feel uncomfortable. And then I talk about eating right, and when I get to that point, I tend to bring in the lifelong vitality in that section as well, and talk about the importance of having a great supplement along with a nutritionally balanced diet as well. And then from there, I just ask a few questions. So I get them thinking about what's, going on for them. And I say, how would you feel if you could move your scores up a few numbers? What do you think could happen if you don't reach your goals? And often people find that really hard to answer. So I say, how would you feel? How would that make you feel? And then the last thing I end with is, why do you feel that so many people are looking for natural solutions? And the most important thing when you ask these questions is to pause and allow them to answer. Often, especially if you're a bit nervous in a class, you can jump right in and not wait for the magic to happen in the class. If you just wait for that answer to sort of pop up, it's just, it's just amazing to watch the things that come up, and that they're helping each other to realize that they need the oils. So,
do you know what would be a wonderful tool that you could create? That I'm thinking, I need her to write this down, because you have some really great questions there, and I probably got about 70% in my head right now, and I'm like, oh, I missed that one. Oh, that's that one.
Honestly, those questions are from the being
starfish.
Yeah.
See, I haven't read it.
Yeah, you've got to read it. It's brilliant.
I clearly do. Yeah.
It's brilliant. I mean, some of the stuff's a little bit airy-fairy, but when you get down to the class sections, and I just love that it gives you a process, and you can tweak them to the language that suits you. But literally, I broke that down, and that section came from that book, because I was the same. I literally had no idea what to do with it.
So you could do the pyramid and then just put the questions, like you said, next to it, the ones to ask and to prompt. And I will let you know that since implementing this since leadership, when I first heard you talk about it, it's now literally my most favorite part of
Yay.
It is, because it's where you actually get them to start convincing themselves that, hang on a second, I don't have very many natural solutions. And when you ask the question, if you had a choice between something natural and something synthetic, what would you prefer to choose? They're going to say, natural, of course. And then they realize they don't have that stuff. You're like, see where we're going here, guys? When we go through all the oils, can you see all the different areas where they're going to be able to support you? They've just answered all their own questions. Yeah,
and you literally see the light bulb switch on and think, and it's awesome to see, people that come in thinking that, they were coming to a candle party. And then they walk out just feeling so empowered because they've got these options, and they're so excited to get their kit that they, I often hear at the end people saying, I really came here thinking I was not going to spend a thing, and they've walked out with this kit that's going to completely change their lives, and they're excited about it. And it's incredible. I feel very blessed that we're in the opportunity. We have an opportunity to do this for people and to really be the change. Even if someone walks away and they don't buy oils, but they may down the line change their window cleaner to a lemon based with vinegar and water, that is awesome. And it's it's all a process for people. And I just always try to think back to what it was like when I first started, and really try to put people in that place and show them that it doesn't have to be difficult. Making
things easy. And I guess this is a journey, you know what I mean? So we're sitting here at Diamond now looking back at the lessons that we've learned moving forward, but maybe someone who's sitting here who's about to run their first class, or is elite, or trying to break a new rank, what advice might you have to them to just enjoy the ride? Is there any lessons that you've learned along the way which you kind of wish you could tell yourself earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to say, and it's probably not, I don't know if it's to the line that you were saying, but it's okay for it to be hard work. And one thing I remember, I think it was Seth. Is it Seth Risenay? At leadership. Was it leadership? No. Yeah. What was it? It was One Tree at convention, and he had said, it's incredibly difficult to get to Diamond, but when you get to Diamond, you look back and think it should have been harder. And that's something that's really clear to me, because there's been times, especially in this last year, with actually not sleeping. I couldn't drive longer than 10 minutes until he was probably 10 months old, because he would just scream the house down. So there were times there where things were tough, but I made it work. But what I want to say here is, I want people to honor that, sometimes things are hard work, and, things that are worth working for tend to be hard work. And, but, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you nurture and you are consistent and you just keep trying, you don't give up, then, it's all going to be worth it. So I guess the biggest advice for myself that I would, if I was looking back, would be, there are going to be some tough times, but, you just, put your big girl panties on and work it out. And then here we are. So.
I know, and this is only just the beginning even. This is nothing, but I mean, it's something amazing, but I still feel like there's so much more to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely.
We're only so early into our journey.
Yeah.
Bring so many people along the ride with us and see them rise and shine along the way. So,
and I think that's one of my favorite parts now is, now it's not about me, it's about my team and really supporting it. And I mean, obviously we can't be where we are without our teams, and what I'm loving now is being able to support our team to get to the same spots. And it's just been a real buzz to sort of see them getting excited about the oils and them having really successful classes, and everything duplicates down. So if you can be the light for your team and you can show them what's possible, you will see that same to come out in your team. And that works the other way too. If you're feeling really negative or feeling really whatever's going on for you, you'll see that sort of thing start to pop up as well. So always be really conscious about what's going on in your own mind, and and if you start seeing things pop up in your team, it's often a reflection of what's going on for you. So
happy vibe, happy tribe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So when you, because you've been obviously quite focused on a goal. Now, we always put that down to a why. So when things get tough, obviously you had this vision of the reason why you were doing what you were doing, and that, yes, okay, this is short-term pain, long-term gain. Amongst this, it's okay, I'm getting 0 sleep, but it's going to be worth it. Okay, no one turned up, but I'll go do another class, and then I'm sure someone will turn up, How do you bounce back up? Like those, I think of those those dolls with the weighted bottom, and you just keep hitting them and they keep popping back up again.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing that keeps pulling me back up is I've never really known, my whole life I've never known what I've wanted to be. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I think for me, I think for me now, my why is obviously my family. And that was my, when I very first started, that was my thing is, we've always, my husband and I have always struggled with money. We've sort of had quite a few things pop up, and not many people know about this, but, we've had quite a few things pop up in our lives that have sort of, drained the bank accounts and things like that. And we've always sort of seemed to miss the mark every time, even though we've both worked really hard. And, we've just sort of seen opportunities sort of slip past us. And, I think for me, when Asher was born, I didn't want to be working the 9-to-5 grind. And, when I worked for that last company, as an account manager, I was doing ridiculous hours, and I was I was actually quite sick because I had burnt myself out. And you don't get any appreciation from a company that you're working for. And so for me, my why was to dig myself out of this funk, and to dig myself out of something that wasn't bringing us joy, and to know that in future, my husband and I, we really love traveling. So we want to take the kids around the world, and we want to do all sorts of things. And so for me, my why was I want to get out of this mess. We're still, we still have debt and we're still paying it off, but like we're so much more comfortable now than we were when we started. And I think, in saying that, everyone, I'd just like to say, in business, you've got to take this like a serious business as well. If you are serious about getting into the leadership roles, it is okay to invest some money into it as well. So, I think often some people may think, especially when they first start, that when you reach diamond, that there's no investment behind it, and it's just kind of like you trot it along and bing, you're diamond. But often there is, investment, and that can be investment in time, that can be investment in money, resources, different things, and that's okay, But I just wanted to make a point of that. But so I guess my why is
doing that, Amy, because I think it's a lot of people, it's a not really spoken conversation about debt, and the whole mission for doTERRA is to get people out of debt. But when people are in denial about that, or then maybe they're trying to get themselves out of debt, but they're not reinvesting the money into the business, which is going to be the main way to actually get them out of debt in the first place, rather than scrimp and scave. And it's really noble because to actually pay off a debt, but if you're not reinvesting in the business. So how did you make that, how did you have the discussion with Chris? Because, you know, it's quite sometimes when you've got to
like, I mean,
your head, but you want to go to convention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Look, I mean, we've got a great relationship, and he's very supportive, and we've always been the sort that have been very open with each other. I can't remember the exact line in our wedding vows, but I think one of the things Chris says, you know, was, you know, I'll always support you, even your craziest ideas, or something like that, because I'd always have these crazy ideas. But you know, and it's just like, I am very fortunate to have that support behind me. But I think you've got to believe in each other, and you've got to believe in yourself as well. So when you know, with doTERRA, you know, here I was really passionate about health and wellness. I was passionate about reducing toxins. And then all of a sudden I was thrown this opportunity that I was passionate about, and I could help others to do the same. And it just, I don't know, that when you have such a passion and a belief in something, I think it's really easy to go for it. And I think if you believe in yourself and you think you can do it, I think anyone can do it. And it all starts here, because if you think you can't do something, then that's the truth. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, that's the answer. So, so I think it was definitely a mindset thing and a whole lot of trust, because obviously, you know, it's something new. So, but you know, we're getting there, and it's and you know, he loves the oils as well. He was skeptical, and then I gave him Digesten, and it helped some of his digestive issues, so he hasn't looked back. So it's nice when, you know, the men have got, you know, the oils as well, and they're loving them. So
people might know, but Chris has actually finished his work now. He's with you full time.
No. So Chris is still doing his own business. So
he just stopped while you were doing a Diamond Club?
Yeah. So well, he didn't actually stop. What happened was his business was taking a little bit longer to take off than what we'd expected. And, you know, as the universe tends to do, it throws everything at us at once. So when we locked in Diamond Club and I'd paid for all of our flights and everything, his business started rolling in. So, and when I say rolling in, just opportunities were popping up that he had to try and juggle between when we were here and there and everywhere. And so there was long days. I mean, those that have done Diamond Club and those that are planning to do Diamond Club, it is intense. And as I said, you know, it's not a bad thing to be intense, because you think it's just 4 months, but there are moments there when you're like, why did I do this? But, you know, looking back now, and after I've like recouped for the last couple of weeks, I was quite unwell as well, which if you follow, I know you follow me, but if people who are listening follow, I found out I had a lot of gut issues going on, and so there was a lot of health stuff that was going on towards the end of Diamond Club. So I was very run down by the end of it. But I look back after having a break, and well, not really a break, but, you know, as much as a break is what what us passionate doTERRians do. But I look back and I see the relationships that grew with our team, you know, being able to meet the person that I met online, and just seeing the community grow and being able to support them on a level that I hadn't been able to do before. Just, you know, I look back on it, I think, oh my gosh, that was the craziest 4 months, but thank God we did it. And I just, some
people will either lean into that or lean away from that. They'll either be drawn to it or not. And I think that's very true. Like, it all comes down to self-belief. And when people realize that the only person stopping them from getting to where they want to go is themselves, it's a really hard mirror to look at, because quite often it's easier to, you know, point at someone else, or to explain that you don't know anyone, or to an excuse as to where you live, or children, or your husband, or something. But it really just comes down to you and what you want to create.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you've had them all. Like you've had debt, you've had babies, you've had, you know, like everything kind of thrown at you, and then you've still triumphed over all adversity to get to where you are today. And and
I mean, and I think it's okay to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think, often there's a mindset that, you know, everything, especially within, like, this is something that really gets under my, I don't know, it gets my nerves, is with, you know, Instagram and Facebook, and, you know, people think that everything's this perfect world, and, you know, that things just happen. And they probably do just happen for some people, and that's great. But I really try to encourage my team not to get caught up in the comparison game, and to try and, I try to keep things as, as positive as possible when things are tough. But, there is an element that you've got to be real as well. And, it's okay to have moments where you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is hard. But I think, anything that makes you step out of your comfort zone is where the magic happens. So, I think, I think if you're having a moment where you're thinking, oh gosh, I want to quit, you just got to remember that, it's not going to be forever. You just keep going, and, you think about the change that you're implementing, not only in your life, but in your team, in your family, everything, and the people that you're working with in every class, it's just incredible.
It is absolutely incredible. And I guess just to summarize, because we've talked about, we've got some good little nuggets in here, which is great. But I always love just to finish with, I guess, what do you have? Obviously, you love the Starfish book. Would that be your go-to for personal development, or is there been another book that you've really loved?
I'd probably say that's my go-to for doTERRA. Yeah. One of the biggest things I say that is you need to work on yourself a lot more, and we hear this often in doTERRA. You need to work on yourself first before you can get further on in the different ranks. And for me, struggling with anxiety and depression, and very much growing up with not a negative mindset, but very hard on myself. And that's something that I've always got to work on. But things, my favorite book was the Louise Hay, the You Can Heal Your Life book. I just found that so powerful for me personally. And doTERRA forces you to go on a self-development journey. It just, if you want to be successful in doTERRA, you've got to open up your own book and be like, holy crap, this is my stuff, and you've got to work on it. And if you're not willing to work on your own stuff, then you'll become stagnant. You won't be able to move forward. For me, I'm terrified of public speaking. And when I was asked to speak at not one but 2 speeches, and I was in the middle of Diamond Club and I wasn't feeling the best, I was like, what am I doing to myself? But I you
did amazing.
Oh gosh, it was terrifying. But I was really happy that I did that, and I was really happy that I felt the fear and did it anyway. And because I think, as I said, it's all in your mind, and I think if you can push past that and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's just, that's where the magic is. So
another thing I found actually on your website, I think you have some books that you recommended, and Danielle Laporte, Desire Map. I read that. Great. That was fantastic. I love that approach, because I've been
she's incredible.
Very goal-based, like that's what you have a rank, but she's like, how do you want to feel when you get there? Yeah,
exactly.
So everything should have an emotion attached to it.
Yeah, definitely.
When I first ranked Diamond, it was like a big, like almost anticlimax.
Yeah.
Because now what?
Yeah.
You just have no idea what to do when you get there, and then you actually realize it doesn't actually mean much.
Yeah. And it's like that thing when you hear about people, that become a millionaire, and then they're still unhappy. And, like, I think if you've got the goal around the feeling, how do you want to feel when you get there? For me, there's I want to feel free. I want to have that happiness. I want to just be, and for me, that's what, I guess, when I am talking about my, in my mind, even though I kind of have a goal where we'd like to be, it comes down to a feeling. It's a feeling of having that cozy family time and not having the rush of a corporate role. So Danielle Laporte, she's incredible. I could recommend it to anyone.
That even comes down to the foundations that you put around using the Empower Kit. Asking them how they feel. How would you feel if you could move up those numbers 1 or 2 places?
Yeah.
Have more options in your home that made you happier.
Yeah, definitely.
Or not cringe every time you had to give your child something that you knew wasn't going to maybe support them as best as they could be. So
yeah, definitely.
Everything's,
Yeah, it's all heart-based. Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing about this business is, by putting other people's needs first before your own, you will go further. If people try to go into doTERRA with, oh my gosh, I want to rank and I want to do this, and I need 10 signups this month, and you push, people go running away. People don't want to feel like that. People want to feel heard and listened to, and they want you to care. And when you genuinely do care about someone and their, and how these oils can impact their lives, that's when the change happens. That's when people want to have a piece of what you're doing, because they see all the happiness that you're getting and all the, I don't know, like this thing, like we don't have toxins anymore. So, I share that sort of stuff. So, people tend to think, oh gosh, that'd be great. I want a bit of that. And yeah.
And I guess the final thing was, I guess it's nice to know that everyone has points in their journey that they wish they could kind of redo. We've always, no one's ever done this perfectly. We've always had mistakes that we've looked back and we've kind of learned from those. So is there one bit of advice maybe that you've got along this journey that you should have taken up earlier?
Yeah, to do the business. I didn't do much for the first year of my being with doTERRA because I was so fearful. As I said earlier, that I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. So, I've done a lot of different things along my journey. And for me, I was terrified that I was going to be the salesperson. I didn't want to be the salesperson. I was terrified that people would judge me and think that I was just trying to push something onto them. And so it took me a long time to dive into the business and to really understand what doTERRA is all about. And so I guess my one bit of advice would be just to go for it, because you'll never look back. And I wish I'd started sooner, but for me, it was the perfect time when we started. So I think everything happens for a reason.
It does. And it's been wonderful to connect with you. I still remember the first time we kind of met face to face at that leadership last year. And again, you were in the back there with all the mums and in the wrap, but you were there. And then the next year you came up to leadership, and then you were diamond. So what rank were you at the first leadership?
Baby silver. So I'd hit silver the month before. So my name tag still said premier. Yeah.
So it's amazing the difference a year can make. Like you said, with Diamond Club. Well, no, kind of. Yeah, you had Diamond.
I hit Diamond in March. So it wasn't really, it was more lead up to that. But yeah.
But you put in the hard yards with an infant, and you should be commended. Like you're doing amazing, and your tribe of girls and men or whatever, they're all fantastic.
They're brilliant. I couldn't do it without them.
No, we never can we? Like, this is not about us. It's about everyone else, isn't it? But every time I see you, like, you glow. Thank you for being such a full of sunshine. And thank you for your time tonight. And it's lovely to hear a bit more about your journey too, like some things that I didn't know. And, obviously we spent time together in Fiji and Incentive, and hopefully we'll get to go again to Uluru.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it was lovely to connect with you and Chris and Asher at that too. So I love how the friendships, even though we're kind of doTERRA cousins.
No, it's beautiful. It's just a great community to be a part of, and it's been really lovely to connect with you. And and it's nice to throw ideas around, and because often it can be such a solo journey, doTERRA. Even though you've got your team there and everything, sometimes you can feel very solo, especially in the leadership roles. So it's nice to have someone to bounce ideas off and, to share this. And I think this series that you're doing for everyone is fantastic, because people get to see things from different perspectives. What works for someone is not going to work for everybody. And I think it's great to sort of have this opportunity to share with people and to hear what other people are doing as well. So thank you.
That's okay. Well, on that beautiful note, I will say good night. And we'll keep in touch, honey.
Yeah, definitely. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.